Hi, Chair Yellen. I'm over here. Over here. There we go. You've testified today that you believe that there should be a level of transparency and oversight that comes from the Federal Reserve. And with Dodd-Frank, you've moved from monetary policy, and the last time you testified, it's almost a third mandate, the regulatory role now of the Fed. Today, do you have a hard stop? 1 o'clock. I would agree, it's 1 o'clock. You started testifying at 10:30. So you're going to testify for, questions began at 10:30, I would say. So we're going to hear from you, and you're going to answer questions for 2.5 hours, twice a year probably. But now that you have a much larger role, don't you think that we should spend more time actually engaging in a conversation with you, not just on the monetary side, but also the regulatory side? It's going back to Mr. Huizinga's question, saying maybe you should come in 4 times a year, or we should, have a hearing where everyone in the committee gets to ask you questions. But because of the increased role that the Fed now plays, shouldn't we have increased oversight, which means longer hearings or more hearings?
Well, I am always open to testifying and want to make sure that I provide the information that you need to conduct oversight of the Fed. My colleagues also have specific expertise and testify before congressional committees, including this one.
Would you testify for longer periods of time or increased hearings? Would you object to that, or would you be okay with that?
I would try to work with you to do something that's reasonable.
Well, I would characterize that as a non-answer, but let's move on. I know that the Fed has been concerned about the concern that we've had about it getting politicized, and Mr. Garrett asked you some questions on that, and I know you would be concerned because you're opposed to our efforts to audit the Fed, and you've been very resistant to that effort. Mr. Garrett asked you about a speech that you gave 2 weeks before the election. Do you remember what that speech was about? Income inequality, right?
Yes, I think that's.
And let me ask my question. I know you don't live in a closet. You're out there and amongst the people. Was there one party that was pushing the idea of income inequality over the other party in the last election?
I believe that it is a problem that
that's
everyone in this room
Chair Yellen,
should be concerned about.
I agree, but was one party pushing that idea over the other party?
I have heard politicians on both sides of the aisle lament rising income inequality and the plight of middle-class Americans.
You are a smart chairman. Was one party pushing income inequality in the last election over the other party? Simple answer.
I don't know.
You don't know?
I have heard broad-based concern about this, and
Chair Yellen, I would venture to guess if I asked all. I'll reclaim my time. I would venture to guess if I asked all of your staff behind you and everyone on either side of this aisle what party made income inequality a political issue, I think we would all get it right. But today, you're not willing to tell us the answer to that very simple question. And you want to tell us, I'm not getting involved in politics. But then again, 2 weeks before an election, you're making political statements that are consistent with the Democrat Party.
I am not making political statements. I am discussing a significant problem that faces America.
And I would welcome the fact that if you're talking about quantitative easing and how that's increased revenue at the top, if you're talking about rules and regulations that keep the little guy from competing with the big guy, in Wisconsin, my biggest employers will tell me, if I was trying to start this business that employs thousands of people today, I could never do it because there's too many rules and regulations. I might not even get a bank to take a risk on me because of the pressure that they get from the regulators. This is tough stuff. And so I hear you taking a Democrat line as opposed to, look at what's happened in the last 6 years. It's gotten worse with liberal progressive policies. It hasn't gotten better. And maybe it's the liberal progressive policy that is the problem, not the answer. Maybe free markets and free enterprise are the answer to the problems of income inequality.
I didn't offer any policy recommendations whatsoever in that speech.
But you offered a political backup.
I pointed to trends.
I only have 20 seconds.
Discussed.
Have you heard of a program called Operation Choke Point?
Excuse me?
Have you heard of a program called Operation Choke Point?
Yes.
You know what it is?
Yes.
Has the Fed been involved in Operation Choke Point?
No.
Have you?
The Department of Justice.
Well, I know, but and also the FDIC. But are you telling me that the Fed has not been involved, whether it's called a different name in a program?
Not to the best of my knowledge.
Not to the best of your knowledge. Okay. Do you guys look at encouraging banks to de-risk or use reputational risk as you analyze banks and how they do business with their clients?
We supervise them and look at how they manage their risks, including
encourage them to de-risk?
reputational risk. But we do not tell them, we tell them that they need to manage their risks. We never
you
tell
use
them
reputational
not
risk.
to.
The time
not-
of the gentleman.
We never tell them not to do business with a client as long as they're
I yield back.
controlling the risk of those relationships.
Time of the gentleman has expired. The chair now